Hey guys, Hundar here. I'm hanging out with John Legrove, senior game producer for World of Warcraft. I've been wandering around. I feel like when a tank shell goes off and you're wandering around and just that buzzing sound in your head as all this new information has bombarded me.
Absolutely.
Amazing series of reveals. I guess let's start with the big question. Why Pandaria for Mists of Pandaria?
We were originally thinking about the Panda as the race to go with in the Burning Crusade expansion. Ultimately decided that the Draenei fit better with the story and the lore and what we were trying to do with that. And then as we went through the next few expansions, they didn't really fit in. But now, with the world healed, with Thrall having really brought the world back and having Deathwing defeated, we're like, wow, what do we want to do here? What's interesting? So we're kicking around ideas, thinking about what's the next focus for WoW, and we're like, why not do pandas? We love pandas. We want to do this story. So yeah. There you go.
Is it difficult from a story perspective going forth in a new direction versus having that recognizable force?
When you first started playing WoW, if you were one of the early adopters and you're playing through Classic, there wasn't an overarching villain, right? There was just you exploring a world, and then you had this other faction you had to deal with, whether it was Horde or it was Alliance. Those were the guys that you're having problems with. So Chris Metzen in our keynote, in our opening speech, talked about that. It's like the calm before the storm. You're going to be exploring Pandaria, seeing this amazing world. It's beautiful, sort of being exposed to the lore and the culture and all that. But there's still the notion of, the Horde or the Alliance, and those guys are scum.
Sort of a specific question in regards to the Pandaren themselves and PvP. Sort of a philosophy you guys have had for a long time is always being able to recognize, on the battlefield, okay, that's the silhouette of a Tauren, and that's a Forsaken, and I'm Alliance, or whatever, and I always know my enemy. We're now, with both sides playing Pandaren, what made you guys decide to allow for that uncertainty? Are there things in place for that?
Yeah, it's a really valid concern. It's like, well, that's the silhouette. It's very distinctive. I get it. What we found is that it didn't matter. Quite honestly, what people do is they're looking at those nameplates. They're looking at those tags. That's what they're paying attention to because it's much faster. Yes, there is that. Taurens are very distinctive, right?
Right.
But your Night Elf and Blood Elf, a lot less so. You got a very that character model is very similar in both. So what we found is that it just didn't matter. People are paying attention to those tags, and that's what they're doing. Those name tags are super important, and that's what's going to matter with the Pandarians.
What roles did you feel that the monk would be filling that weren't covered before? Is it and in terms of adding yet another class to a pretty big list at this point, what made that the right choice for you at this expansion?
Right. Why didn't we just put out the panda and say go be a panda hunter or go be a panda warrior? Well, we thought it was. In telling the story, it influenced us quite a bit. So the notion is that we have the Mogu have sat there and they've taken away the weapons of the panda. They've dominated. They've stopped these creatures from being warriors. And so what these creatures have done instead is they've mastered this notion of unarmed attack. And so that's what made us go, in telling the story of here we have this race oppressed. Well, why don't they just rise up and beat the crud out of each other? Well, okay. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that the monk can be a valid class because it makes sense to keep with what we're trying to do in the lore. And we also thought it was badass. There's just no two ways about it. We think monks are an awesome thing to add.
What made you realize it was time to just step away from this the design that not only you but all of the competitors are like, oh, we got to have talent trees, but you guys knew it was time to move beyond that?
I think it's awesome what we're doing now. Thank God, because you're looking at, well, now I've got 41 talents to throw at this, and I'll just smear them up against that. No, wait, I don't need to do that. I'll just follow this cookie cutter, design. So I like it. It's meaningful. It's a meaningful choice, right? You're still going to specialize. You're still going to say, I'm going to be an affliction warlock, right? Or what have you. But you're going to say at each of those tiers at 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90, I've got 3 meaningful choices to make. And I can't go back. I can make my choice of double charge, or I can make my choice of stun charge, or whatever it is, and I'm moving forward. And you may say, that's great, but I like this. And they're both awesome, and they're both meaningful. Yeah, it's a big win.
One other quick thing, just want to touch on the pet battle system, which I feel like is a very big thing. You guys are making a lot of extra options for, whereas archaeology was supposed to be sort of like, oh, here's an alternative to things that kind of just, in some ways, felt a little grindy still. Now we've got a much more like nuanced system of all these things you can do within this pet system. What was sort of the motivation for that? Just more options?
Absolutely. So we looked at companion pet, the companion pet battle system, and we said, well, one, people love collecting pets, right? They just, man, love collecting pets, and they're cool to have, and people bring them out, but we don't really do a whole lot with them. And the notion of when we have downtime, like it would be awesome to sit there and have one pitted against another, right? Like my Cenarian hatchling and your Onyxia whelpling. Who wins?
Right.
Well, I don't know. So let's build a system to do that. It's a vastly involved, technically challenging system. It's one of the most technically challenging things we've ever done. And it doesn't seem like it. It's like, well, you just have turn-based, you go, I go, and your pets battle. But you're doing a turn-based system within a real-world operating environment. So we need to be able to respond to all those influences, as well as let you take your turns during your battles. So technically way challenging. Seems kind of crazy, but it is. And you've got all these awesome pets to play with. So yeah, let's have the Tolbarad Gull do its swoop attack on you, and let's go out into the wild and tame that wild pet. And yeah, it encourages the exploration of the world. It gives you time to do things between waiting for a raid to form. It just offers a lot of variety. So it's just it really is just a cool, fun mini game for you to do.
Right.
Yeah, and you get to level them up, put them out on the auction house, sell them all. Yeah, awesome stuff.
Cool. Well, as a diehard WoW player, I really appreciate the fact that I think I've seen it all, and I'm like, all right, okay, here it comes. I know the expansions, and then it's just mind blown, just stumbling around, oh my god, I can't wait for beta. Thanks very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you guys enjoy it.